we're going to look at outliers. We've so far just kind of said outliers are data that fall really far away from the rest of the data. They're like really off from everything else. Well, we do have a numerical way to determine whether or not a value is an outlier. There's a formula. This is actually quite an important formula because it is not in the formula book and you do need to know it. Oh, this is so annoying. Let's go back. And you do need to know it. They love questions about determining if a value is an outlier. So let's write not in formula book. And an outlier, there's two ways to check to see if a value is an outlier. An outlier is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, the interquartile range. Or an outlier is greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. We really generally hate formulas, but this is not a super difficult one to use. We just need to see an example of how to use it. So we'll look in this next problem on how to use that. We're going to start with this data here. We want to find out if we're going to type this data into the calculator. You can't see my screen for a second, but you're going to open up a new listen spreadsheet and type that data in. And I'll show you mine in just one moment. So you take a second and type yours in as well. And you should have 10 data points. It says find the 5-number summary. So once you have those data points in, I like to open up a new page, Control Add Page Calculator, Menu Statistics, Stat Calculations, 1 Variable Statistics, 1 List, X, OK. So we have the 5-number summary, minimum, Q1, median, maximum, or Q3 and maximum. Let's write those down. 40, minimum, 64 is Q1, 70.5 is Q3. I need to find it again. 64, 80, and 105. So we have 80, 105. First of all, do any of those values seem like really far away from the rest? Think about it to yourself. Does it look like we have a value in this data here that is way far away from the rest? And that's what we want to find out eventually. First, the next question says, what is the range? Well, we know range is max minus min. So 105 minus 40, which is 65. And we know IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Q3 is 80. Q1 is 64, and so the IQR is 16. Remember, this is min, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. So next we get to determine if there are any outliers. Well, we know that an outlier is any value, let's use the first formula, that's less than Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Q1 is 64 minus 1.5 times the IQR we found above is 16. Notice we found the IQR up here. So we can type that into the calculator. 64 minus 1.5 times 16. and you should get 40. So if we have any outliers would be less than 40. Do we have any values here, up here, that are less than 40? Almost. We have a 40, but nothing that's less than 40. So we don't have any outliers on the lower end. Do we have any outliers on the upper end? Well, now we use the other outlier formula that you wrote above. If it's greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. So an outlier is anything that's greater than Q3 is 80 plus 1.5 times the IQR, which was 16. If you type that into your calculator, 80 plus 1.5 times 16, we get 104. So an outlier is any value that is greater than 104. Look up at our data up here. Do we have anything that is greater than 104? We do. We have one value that is. 105 is greater than 104, so 105 is an outlier. It's far enough from the data that we can call it an outlier. So what's important about an outlier is it actually changes our box plot a little bit. What it does is, so our data, by the way, went from 40 to 105. So I'm just going to go 40, and this is heart rates, I think, heart rates. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and 105. How it changes the box plot is we still put all of the tick marks, 40 at all of the 5 values, 40, 64, 70.5, these are the 5 number summary, 80, and 105. But since 105 is an outlier, it's actually not where the whisker goes out to. You want to look back at your data, and what's the next smallest number, the next largest number other than 105? It looks like it's 89. The whisker actually only goes out to 89. Bear with me for a second, and I'll help you. So you have the whisker actually only goes out to the 89 here. You keep the 105 as a separate dot. You put a box around this part, the middle, and a line where the median is. It should be a straight line. Mine doesn't look straight. The reason why that dot is separate is because it is an outlier. It is separate. It's telling the reader that that is an important point because it's far away from the rest. You can also create the box plot in your calculator. Control, add page, data and statistics, add X, and then menu, plot type, box plot. And look what the calculator does. The same thing. So if you have trouble knowing how to make this box plot, use the calculator. And the calculator is even telling you that 105 is an outlier because it's a separate dot. The next highest was 89, which is what we found. Q3 was 80, median 70.5, Q1 64, and minimum 40, as we expected. Pretty cool. Thank you, calculator. Describe the distribution of heart rates. We will do this part in class, but for now, we'll stop right here.